Hey guys, happy Monday. Changed my background tonight. Decided the lighting was a little bit better this way. And yeah, give it a minute for Shakti to hop on. And then we will start chatting. Hey.
Hey, I look white.
Some weeks you're like super dark. Other weeks, like the
My ethnicity has changed.
it's like the albino pancakes.
Get my hair. I'm finally getting a haircut on Friday. I'm so excited.
It's exciting. You didn't grow it out that long.
This part is still gonna grow out.
Yeah. You're just getting
This
excited.
part is about to go down, and the whole color is gonna change. So
Yeah.
that's really exciting.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it's gonna look crazy, but I'm so ready for hair. It's been way too long without it.
I'm itching for new hair. I mean, similar style probably. It's just been so long since I've gotten it cut, and it's just you know how it is. It just starts to grow out, and it's like
Yeah.
like the shape is
like
not cute.
Living on my head. Oh, is that your pet dog? No, it's my hair. I swear a bird flew over me and tried to make a nest like 2 days ago. I was like, no. Get out of my hair, bird.
Oh, it's so funny.
This is not a nest. It is indeed my hair. Thank you. Move along.
I need to share this. I'm like, what's happening?
About that. I can't, hold on. Let's do the sharing thing.
Also, side note, Guinea will not stop whining.
What's going on, Guinea?
I don't know. And unlike a child, I can't put her to bed.
You can't?
So she's like next to me on a chair, like really pissed off that I'm. She hates me on live video. She's just like, Mom, this is the worst. Why are you doing this?
I need you. That sounds a lot like my cat. This morning, I literally.
Guinea and Ella would be like BFFs.
I yelled at my cat for eating my hair while I was doing pullovers. Like, I usually don't care if my cat I work out. And today I felt like such an idiot. Like, I literally yelled at her like she was my toddler. Stop eating my hair as I'm doing pullovers. Like, she knows what the fuck I'm saying or even cares. Like, she doesn't fucking care. She's a cat. She's gonna do whatever the fuck she wants.
Girl, I cannot tell you how many times Guinea has I've almost stepped on her. I don't know how many times during the workout, and I've done the same thing. I'm like, can you please not be right under my feet all the time? And then
you're like, I don't give a fuck. I'm a cat.
Exactly. And
what
then
are you gonna do?
Step on me, bitch. See what happens. And I know, right, Guinea? And then I get on the floor to do core work, and she's just like, you know how that is. She's just all up in my business. And I'm just like, oh, it's the worst.
Is this my mat? No, cat. It's not. It's my mat. Your mat is way the fuck across the room. Oh, that's that. Thank you. By the way, this is how we begin every episode.
Every episode. While we wait for people to come on and we talk about random ass shit. Welcome to our lives.
Welcome. So relax. This is gonna suck.
Cats and workouts, not a good combo. Anyone else? Anyone else feel that way? That's why when people are like, I can't work out because I have a child, I'm like, I have 2 fucking cats. Like, it's
and
not well, you have a child too, but you just make it work, guys. You just make it work.
The problem is it's that all or nothing thing. right? It's like, I can't do it because then I can't work out the whole whatever 30, 40, 60 minutes because I'm going to be interrupted. Yeah, you're going to be interrupted because you have a small human or a fur animal trying to get fucking attention that doesn't understand what you're doing, and that's normal and fine. You pay attention to them and then you just keep doing your workout. Like, it's not the end of the world. That's not going to derail your results. It's not going to stop your heartbeat from pumping. You're not
if your heartbeat stops, you're fucked.
You're not, like, your biceps won't get any smaller because you had to pause for 15 minutes and feed your girl. Like, you're like, it's all right, But what if I have to stop? Stop. Like,
okay, can we just say, I'm sorry, how many times have we had to stop to go to the fucking bathroom? Like, just shit in the middle of a, right? I mean.
But I remember when I was breastfeeding, I started working out and I was still breastfeeding, okay? Like, a lot, like all the time, because we were exclusively breastfeeding. And I shit you not, I remember doing like Pilates from 21 Day Fix, lying on my side, breastfeeding, doing leg lifts, like at the same time. Like, that was my life for like a long ass time. And it worked.
Yep.
I still got results. It worked. He got fed, he's happy, played on the floor, everyone won. It's a mindset thing. It's not a big deal, really. I just saw Shannon's and I was like, yeah, you can use them as a weight too.
That's exactly. Whatever you need to do to get your shit done, that's what you do.
All right, so I'm finished sharing. I can do it from my iPad, which is exciting for me. Technology.
Yeah. Technology. What a thing.
I just learned how to use my iPad like 25 minutes ago, and I've had it for like 5 years. Old fuck. Hi guys, welcome to Every Monday. Like curse words and a really crass sense of humor. You're in the right place with a dash of personal development and kick you in the ass. That's pretty much what we do every Monday night. So you're in the right place. And tonight's topic, let me just do a disclaimer before we begin. We love you guys. Let's do like an Abraham Hicks disclaimer. Okay. You humans, we love you so much. We love you so much. We want you to hear that before we begin this conversation, because as moms, especially, I'm a mom, we are like overly attached to the struggle sometimes. Like, in general, we get overly attached to the struggle, but with moms, it's like a whole new niche of like getting overly attached to the struggle and like making your identity of the struggle, whether it's motherhood or relationship or a job or whatever, like your whole beingness. And we're gonna tear the shit out of that in this conversation today, okay? Like a massive hole right through the middle of that. So prepare. A, B, we love you. Just remember that, okay? Like the whole time.
Write yourself a note right now. They love me.
They
and
love
then every
me.
time like ego gets hurt, just look, they love me. Okay, we're good.
They love me. Good. And nothing we're about to say is like just smoke. Like, we've been there, like straight up. So like, we get it, okay? We get it. We feel it for sure. Just throwing that out there.
I'm gonna let you kick this one off. And the reason I say that, typically Shakti's like, hey, and you want to talk about like how we came up with this? The reason I don't want to kick it off is because today I texted Shakti and I was like, wait, what are we talking about? It has something to do with moms and like knowing what you like or don't like. What, right? And I remember the conversation we had when I was in Atlanta. Like, I remember the conversation, but beyond that, I'm gonna let Shakti like kick it off, and then I'm sure I'll just come like barreling in with some things.
So we've been having, we work with clients in all different capacities all the time. And both Ann and I work with a lot of moms. I'm a mom, Ann's not like a human mom, she's a fur mom. But we work with a lot of moms. And with them, I feel like with moms, it's very easy to see where once they become a mother, that's like their entire identity. Like that is everything that they are. And speaking from experience, I have spent the past 2.5 years, and my son has been Earthside, learning how to figure out who I am, what my new sense of self is now that I'm also a mother. Not just now that I am a mother, but now that I am also a mother. Just like I am a woman, just like I am a lover, just like I am a psychic, just like I am a fitness coach. Like I am all of these expressions of myself, and I am now also a mother. Okay. Me having a son did not just make me a mother to the exclusion of all else that I am. But so often, that's exactly how we treat motherhood. We treat it like the only job, the only role, the only thing that matters, the only sense of importance. And then who we are, what we like, our interests, our hobbies, our sense of self just kind of gets swept under the rug and forgotten. And then by the time we end up working with them, we're like, okay, so like, what are your core values? And then they stare at us like, are you still speaking English? I don't speak Spanish. It's still English, right? That's how I feel they like talk to me. Like, I have no idea what you're saying. Okay, like, what are some of your goals? Like, that's the face, right? And what's happening is that for an extended period of time, knowing who you are has become not important. Honoring who you are has become not important. It's become very much backseat. And I believe the intention behind that is quite noble. I think in general, moms who want to be great moms want to really give their kids the best of everything. They want to make them a priority. And you know, for a lot of us, maybe we weren't a priority. So like we kind of overcompensate with our kids and like, you know, give them more than we had. I think that's a pretty common story among parents, but I don't think we really sit down to think about what giving more really means and what being more for our kids really means, you know, and what kind of an example we're setting by putting ourselves on the back burner. And we do that too in relationships. And Anne and I talked about that while she was here. Like, how many of us have been in like horrifically codependent relationships and lose ourselves in this relationship, and just like everything is about the relationship and everything is about the other person. I can't sleep if they're not right next to me. I'm sorry, that's not cute. Like, that's really codependent.
Been
like,
there.
like, I just cannot sleep if they're like not like, I understand it being a little weird and you being sidetracked, but like that's generally not a super healthy thing to feel, that you can't function normally without another human being like next to you. No, that's not like, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of ways in which we lose our sense of self, whether it's a relationship or a job or, you know, a label, some sort of label that we put on ourselves, and then we don't even know who we are by the end of that. And the more we were talking about it, we were like, this happens in so many circumstances. Like, it started talking about kind of parenting, because I was having some issues with parenting, and I was talking to Anne about it, and then it went into relationships, and I was like, wait a minute. People do this with everything. And we were like, okay, we need to talk about this. Like, that's when we were like, this needs to become a topic of conversation. So that's how this came. That's how this was born.
That's a good explanation. And as you were talking, I was like, okay, I have some things to say. now my opinion is very strong. So, you know, Shakti talked about with moms, when we talk to moms and ask about core values and goals and all of that. But even more basic than that, I cannot tell you, because one thing I do with my clients, I have them create a morning routine based on body, mind, and soul. And one thing that I talk about for the soul component is create a list of 10 things that you enjoy doing that don't require money or another person. Seems really fucking basic. It's like, I mean, honestly, guys, that's like you ask a kindergartner, like, what are things that you like? They can give you a list of more than 10 things that they love to do.
Dinosaurs, crayons, Play-Doh, right out the gate.
They know what they fucking like. But I cannot tell you how many moms specifically I ask, what do you enjoy doing?
It's great.
Silence. They have no fucking clue what they enjoy. And you know, I'm not a mom, but I want to give the perspective from from someone who's not a mom, who has friends who are moms and friends who are not moms, that it's not real fun, guys, for your friends who aren't moms to lose their friends when their friends become moms. And that's just the honest fucking truth. And I've told Shakti, I'm like, you're one of the few friends that I have who became a mom, who I still feel genuinely connected to, because I didn't feel like I lost my friend when they became a mom. And I feel like there are so many moms who feel isolated when they become moms. They don't feel like they have a support system. But then ask yourself, have I made my entire life about my child and basically secluded myself from my support system?
Yep. Ding, ding, ding. I did that. I did that for months after I had a kid, because I was the first one in my immediate friends group to have a child. And I was like, here I am. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, because no parent does the first time they become a parent. And none of my friends know, right? And so now there's this gap between the struggles that I'm living and the life experience I'm having and what they're living. It's completely different, right? They're worlds apart, and I completely get that. So what you're going to talk about is not on the same wavelength for a while, because there's a period of adjustment. At the same time, what I realized in those 3 or 4 months after my son was born was that I completely ignored myself for that period of time. And what I mean by that is I wasn't even resting, you guys. When you have a kid, those first 40 days, you're really supposed to just like lay down and not do shit with your life for those 40 days. Not this bitch. I was up trying to act like life was fucking normal when it wasn't, you know, when I was struggling. I ignored myself so hard. I didn't even do that. I didn't even lay down. Like the most basic form of self-care. I didn't even lay down. You know? And so the result, because we are creators of our reality, okay? And we are the source of the things that we experience in our reality. If you neglect yourself, you will neglect your relationships, neglect your friendships, neglect your marriage, neglect all these other things, because everything is an extension of you. Everything is an extension of you. There's no existence outside of how you interact with it. It's that simple. So when we become parents and we throw ourselves into just being a parent, we don't immediately realize the psychological toll that takes on us until it's really quite too late. Really quite too late. And then you're like, whoa, everything is falling apart. What's going on? And it starts here. And the reason Anne and I have a relationship still is because I took charge of myself at about 4 months. My son was 4 months old. I was like, no more of this. I need to do one thing in my life that's for me. And that was working out. That was one thing I had that I knew I could count on. I had done it in the past. And when I did it, I felt better. I made that connection. I said, okay, if I can just work out, do nothing else, just for me. It's one thing I can do. I will feel better, right? I reached out to her. She helped me get started. I started working out. It worked. Just that small window of time doing something for me. I then got a community that I could plug into. All of a sudden, my world got a little bit bigger. And then it got a little bit bigger. And the more time I poured into myself, my world got slightly larger. And my connections got more deep with other people that wasn't just around my child. And then my world started to change. And guess what happened too? I became a better mom. I loved my kid more. And I enjoyed him more because I was enjoying me more. Yes?
Yep.
Hearts? Can you relate?
I'm like, are they dead out there? I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Are you like stunned by this, or is this resonating? Like this is truth. This is how it works.
Well, and also, so Shakti and I have been talking about so many different things, but it all kind of comes back to this topic. Like you talk about you know, when you first become a mom and your world really becomes your child. And we've talked about in relationships, right? It's so common at the beginning of relationships that's been my thing, right? Like I have been codependent to like the extreme. And you know, my pattern was to get into a relationship and immediately latch on, right? And I was just like, I'm going to do all the things with this person all the time. And it was like, they could no
like
longer
a dementor.
They could no longer have a life. I could no longer have a life. Friends and I would talk, and I was that person with friends, right? Where it was like, we would get on the phone and all I wanted to talk about was the relationship. And I'm sure my friends were like, oh, fucking shit, Anne. Like, just please, for the love of God, stop. But what happens is that when you latch on, when you become codependent, whether it's codependent in a relationship or codependent with your child, right? It's all codependency. Having this like attachment and addiction to anything is codependency. So being codependent in any way, when you latch onto that thing and you make that thing your source of happiness, your source for living, your source of everything, then you end up living your life in so much fear. Yeah. Because if anything happens to that thing, job, relationship, money, child, you're fucking screwed. You're fucking screwed. And so Shakti and I were having this conversation about when I started to have this realization in my own life about my capacity to love without any attachment. And that's been like huge for me. Huge for me. I've finally experienced what it feels like to love someone else who I have not been in a committed relationship with, right? But I've been intimate with this person. And I like had this reflection where I was like, wow, I love this person, like genuinely love this person, but I don't need anything from this person. I don't need their love in return. I don't need them to text back. I don't need them to be in my life actually at all. I just genuinely love this person. And then I related it to Shakti and her son, because this happens so often with moms as well, right? Where as moms, you end up putting up this wall between you and your child because you have such fear that like you've never experienced that level of love before, right? Because I obviously don't know, but I've heard that the love you feel for your child is just so intense and something you've never experienced before, right? So but you don't ever really allow yourself to open up and love your child, really, really, really love your child, because you have such fear of what happens if something like, what happens to me, what happens to my life if something happens to my child, right? And so if you live your life in this codependent relationship with your child, if anything does ever happen to your child, you're fucked. Like, you're fucked.
100%. Let me tell you, I've had a really profound revelation with it in the past about 3 weeks. I was driving and I had this moment where I realized that if anything happened in my marriage, like my partnership right now, which to me is the healthiest partnership I've ever had, like literally the most loving, supportive, amazing relationship I've ever had. And if it ended for any reason, I would be okay. That was huge. Like, I literally was shocked at how calm I felt internally. The sense of security that I had, that I would be okay, that I would find my way, and that it would be fine. And I imagined something that in the past was really painful, like if I was cheated on, or, you know, if I don't use the word cheating lightly because I'm extremely liberal in my relationships, but like if some commitment was broken that we had agreed upon, which in the past would have been really intense and triggered all these feelings of betrayal and like, you're an asshole and blah, blah, blah. Like, I wouldn't even have the energy for that. I would not even carry that with me. I would be really quite like, you broke a contract. This is where we are. Like, that's how I felt. And then as I was kind of ruminating that, I was like, that's really intense. Like, for me to feel that way when I've never had that kind of like peace about something like this. And then I thought about my kid. And this is something that I have been working on, and that's why Anne kind of shared that with me, because I feel like the first couple years of his life, although I love my kid, I've also kept myself kind of at bay emotionally for that reason. For the reason of, you know, something happening to him and then me like panicking. And I thought about losing my child, which is not a thought that any parent is comfortable entertaining, and it's extremely intense to consider. But my belief is that my child does not belong to me. He's not mine. He came through me. He chose me, came through me, and I have the distinct honor and privilege of being his mom, his guardian, in this experience of life for the first portion of his life and for as long as he wants me to be. But should my child's life come to a conclusion in this material reality, of course I will mourn and grief like no one's business, because that's normal and human. But my deepest knowing is that that was his life contract, and it had nothing to do with me. And that I will heal, and that I will still have him no matter what. That's my deepest knowing. And when I really came to peace with that, I felt like I was able to love him more. Like this past week, the times that he's hugged me and I've held him, I've felt him. For the first time, like I've really felt him. I didn't just feel his body, but like I felt his energy. Because I finally made myself available to that. Because I let go of the fear of losing, the illusion of loss. I made peace with that, and it suddenly like broke down this invisible wall that was between me and my kid. And you know what? It happened with my relationship too. I feel like Jay and I now talk on a completely different level than before I had that moment of like, I would be okay. It's so true. It makes a massive difference in your capacity to feel connected and to feel love. It's huge. Huge.
I'm like, I don't even know where to go from there.
That's like the real deal. Like that's me being super real, you guys. That just happened in the past couple weeks. And it makes me extremely emotional because in light of all the things that we've been seeing, all the suicide stories, all the, you know, those things are so hard to comprehend. Like, and the reason we feel them so deeply is because we get really attached to our relationships on Earth. Like, we really do. We form these attachments that are really intense, and rightfully so. When we love someone, we want them around all the time, and we want them to be here, and we, you know, that is normal. But we also have to understand that every soul has its life path and its contract.
Okay, I have something. I have something to say, and I'm just totally interrupted you. So sorry. Go ahead.
That's what I wanted to go with. Is every soul has a contract. We all have contracts with each other, and the more we learn to really, I feel like, own who we are and be with who we are and break down those barriers of fear and codependency and manipulation, which is essentially like what that is, we can honor each other's contracts so much with so much more ease and not suffer as much. Like the amount of suffering we will experience is so minimized when we are in that mode of honoring and not codependency.
Bringing up like suicide, right, and the other like things that have been going on in our world, and like thinking about that, and then also just our topic of how to not lose yourself. What was coming up for me was just the fact that when we connect to ourselves, like my personal belief is the reason we see all of the traumas happening in our world right now, specifically like suicide, depression, you know, random shootings, like all this shit. The reason we see this is because we live in a world where the majority of people are disconnected from themselves. The majority of people have lost themselves, right? And so if this is something that we want to stop happening in our world, then the most important thing you can do is to first learn how to connect to yourself and connect to yourself on a daily basis. Because I just had a conversation with a client today. She was saying, I feel like it's selfish. How dare I put myself before my kids? And I know Shakti and I have talked about this, and the truth is that how dare you not put yourself before your children? Because you need to understand that by not putting yourself before your children, by not putting your self-care before your children, you are directly modeling to your child how to treat themselves. And so if you are disconnected from yourself day in and day out, and you don't know who you are, and you don't know what your interests are, and you don't have any friends because you are so codependent with your child that you've lost everyone, that's exactly what you are modeling to your child. And when you model that to your child, I'm sorry, not sorry, it's no wonder that people are going around shooting other people and committing suicide because they're so fucking disconnected from themselves. It starts with you.
Yeah. And that's a mad deep topic, y'all. Like, this is real deep. But y'all have to understand that it's that connection to self is so intensely, and even my husband, who's been growing in his self-awareness by leaps and bounds, he walks in the other day and he's like, I realized that the problem with every single conflict I've ever faced in my life was lack of self-awareness.
Preach. Yep.
This woman said that, and I was like, yes, the source of every single problem we have is lack of self-awareness. Because once we become really self-aware, you cannot help but feel connected to like all things. You really can't help that. You can't help but feel the suffering of other people. You can't help but feel the success of other people. You can't help but realize how ingrained we are in each other's like energy, and how connected we are, how much more alike than different we are. You can't help but feel that. But if you're not there and you're not taking the time for that, and like Anne, I cannot tell you how many readings I've done for people where I'm like, why are you still in this relationship? Because for some reason, I'm like the relationship go-to psychic. I don't know what that's about, but I'm like 100% right on every time I give feedback on that. Like, Anne can attest.
Every time.
Flawless.
Punch in the stomach? Oh, well.
Yeah. Well, okay. And I'm like, why are you still here? Because of my kids. And I'm like, I want to die inside every time I hear that. You guys, what are you modeling? What are you modeling? You're modeling ignoring your own needs. You're modeling ignoring what you're fiercely being called to do. You're modeling that to your kids. You're telling your kids, it's okay if you suffer in silence. It's okay if you don't speak your truth. It's okay if you don't live in authenticity. It's okay if you live out of your integrity. It's okay if you lie to the person that you're supposed to love and be partnered to. That's okay. That's what you're teaching them. And then we just continue to breed a whole collective of people who ignore their own needs and don't know what they really want, don't have a voice, don't know how to talk about feelings, don't know how to be with grief, don't know how to process. And then we're shocked when everybody's disconnected from everybody else, and like hatred and bigotry and all this shit just flying everywhere and crazy things are happening. Why are we shocked? Why are we shocked? That's all a symptom. That's all a symptom. Everything that's being experienced is a symptom. The core problem, we're not connected to ourselves. We haven't made that a priority, and we've demonstrated to other people in our lives how much of a priority it's not.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, just talking about feelings, right? I mean, I think about the fact that I used to teach kindergarten, first grade, right? So I used to teach feelings. But it's interesting to me how I went from teaching feelings to young children to now, no joke, no exaggeration, teach adults how to feel their feelings. Mm-hmm. Because they have been shoved down for so long and have turned to emotional eating and emotional drinking and codependency of all things, right? Because they haven't learned how to feel their fucking feelings. And I'm like, I mean, I have legit sat on the phone for an hour with the clients teaching her how to cry. And that's not an exaggeration. Like, okay, here's how you cry. It's okay. Let out the tears. Cry. And it's like, she didn't know how to do it. Because she's been shoving it down for so long.
Yeah. Yep. That's it. Like this whole topic is, we just covered it in like 35 minutes. Like with what we just said. And this is why, ultimately, big picture, you guys, this is why it's so important that you do not put yourself on the back burner. It's a lot bigger than, I take bubble baths and get massages and like candles and listen to Sade. But everybody still listens to Sade, but I do. Okay? So it's a lot bigger than that. Okay? It's a much bigger thing. It starts with really simple activities like, this is how you feel your feelings, meditate in the morning, do a workout, let's look at what you're eating, and if you're eating your feelings or if you're eating for purpose, okay? Those things that we teach our clients are really simple, small steps to get you plugged in. The larger effect being that when you go out in the world and interact in your world, you are now self-aware enough, because you've done these small things, that you can engage from a place of like empowerment and connection, because you've connected to yourself. So it might sound real simple how two coaches focusing on teaching someone how to feel their feelings and lifting weights can like really make an impact, but we want you to kind of see the progression here. It's about much more than that. The things that we offer you guys are just very small activities for you to then go out and step into who you really are and go connect with other people as you really are, and then give them permission to be who they really are with you. And in that way, you are inspiring other people to become more and more authentic, more and more alive, more and more connected. This is how we heal the planet. This is how we heal the planet. By becoming more self-aware, by taking responsibility for connecting to ourselves, and then going out in the world from that connected place and establishing relationships. That is how this happens. It's not a large sweeping savior stepping in and saving the day. It's not a large movement. It's a grassroots person to person to person movement. That's what happens. So if you can start where you are with you, you are part of it. You are part of the change. It's that simple, really. It's easy. It's simple, not easy. We always say that,
yeah,
right?
It is. It's simple, it's not easy, which is why Shakti and I both say there is nothing more important than investing in your body, mind, and soul. Because it's not just about you. It's not about, and this is, we both say this, it's not about it's not about the number on the scale. It's not about whether you have abs or not. It's not about the size of your pants. We don't really give a shit about that. We don't, right? But when someone says to us, I can't afford whatever the dollar amount is, and Shakti and I both have a variety of price ranges. So when someone says I can't afford that, I mean, we both are just like, oh, how do we get the point across?
Yep.
Like, it's not about, like, I don't really feel like working out and I don't have the time to work out. Like, it's so far beyond that. Mm-hmm. So far beyond that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so much more than that. We just happen to offer it in certain avenues to begin establishing that relationship. And then, of course, you get to be, coached by us one-on-one, which with our life experience and obviously what we teach on our podcast, like, you kind of know where we stand and where our background is. And so that's the benefit of being in relationship to us as coaches. But there's a reason why these things work and why our clients message us and are like, you've changed my life. Like, I can't tell you how many of my clients with an exercise routine and like a simple nutritional change message me like, my whole life has changed. My relationship is better. I got a new job. I bought a car, bought a house. Like, everything changes. Why? Why did that work that way? Why did that happen? Because when they started to connect to themselves and take control of one facet of their life, they established this sense of like realness about who they are. They got to know themselves and they got to know what they wanted and they got clarity. And suddenly the clarity was empowerment. And now the empowerment became empowerment everywhere. Everywhere. Because everything is connected. And that's how it works. Don't compartmentalize yourself. We're so good at doing that. Ego's like, this is here and this is here and this is here. And that's not true. That's not true.
No.
Everything is everything. That's how it works. How we do one thing is how we do everything. Remember that quote. How we do one thing is how we do everything. The first time I heard that, it knocked me on my ass and it made me really take a hard look at my life. There was a lot of things I did not want to look at with that one. With that quote. But it changed my life because at that point I took a lot of ownership of where I was. And I was like, you know what? That's dead on. And I've got to change what I don't like. Because if how I do anything is how I do everything,
I'm screwed.
that's yeah. Right? So I pass that on to you guys. Like, how you do anything is how you do everything. Where you're not taking ownership of your life and you're just letting life kind of toss you about, you're doing it in more than one place. I guarantee you. If you're like, my love life is a mess, pretty much a lot of things in your life are a mess. I can guarantee it. Or you're like, I'm an emotional eater, I binge eat. I can pretty much guarantee you are like dropping the ball a lot of other places as well. Like, it affects everything. And it affects your relationships and it affects how you show up in the world and it affects whether or not you're actually making an impact in the world. So don't ignore this. If there's one freaking episode of this podcast that you listen to and like do something about, it's this one. For sure. It fucking matters. It matters. And if you want to stop seeing tragedy after tragedy and problem after problem and drama after drama, take responsibility for yourself. That's how you start your activism, is by taking ownership of yourself and not letting your identity and who you are get sucked into something and ignoring your needs. That simple.
Yeah, I mean, the last episode, Shakti said, before something, right? Don't be against something, before something. This is exactly, this right here, talk about action step. This, if you're like, I don't really know what I'm for, be for yourself. How about that? Be for yourself, period. If you don't know what to be for, then do that. Be for yourself. That's all you ever need to be for anyway. You know, and again, earlier Shakti was talking about how many readings she's done for people who stay in relationships for the children, right? I can't tell you how many people I have coached who stay in relationships because they're afraid that they can't do the things that their partner does, right? The manly things that their partner does. Well, I don't know, right? Like, I don't know how to, you know, I don't know how to get a car. I don't know how to, you know, go to the mechanic. I don't know how to fix it. Do you know how many things I didn't know how to fucking do? But and I was not someone who would proactively leave relationships. I was the girl who was codependent and sticking around in relationships for far too long, even though Shakti was like, this isn't gonna last. I was like, it'll last. She's like, no, it's not gonna last. I'm like, I can make it work. I can make this shit work. Surprise, surprise, it fell apart, right? And so I had those moments of like, I had this person doing all these things. Well, sorry guys, but when dude's out the door and you're left on your own with two fucking cats, you figure shit out. Shit out. And so how did I do that? So many people want to know. And how did you get from point A to point B? You know how I did it? I worked out. I nourished my body. I meditated. And I did things every single day that connected me to my soul. Everything I teach my clients, that's how I did it. And so do you want to know how I know what I teach my clients works? Because I did it first. Relationships ended, I connected to myself. Relationships ended, I connected to myself. Relationships ended, I connected to myself.
I wish I had dollars.
And so it fucking works. It works.
So I'm about to teach a soulmate workshop where I'm going to talk about how I manifested my current partner, because he was extremely deliberately manifested. Like, that was like a super conscious, my first ever, by the way. Never had done that before, and it worked. Here we are, 5 years, right? So the top thing I did was take care of myself. That's the number one fucking thing I did. And in the workshop, I'm actually going to coach people through that and like understanding why that matters. But it was so essential to getting the kind of relationship I now have. That's like primary.
Yeah, I mean, I did not manifest any relationship the way that Shakti did, and I'm not married anymore. But the last relationship that I had was probably the closest to like what I ultimately wanted, and I was absolutely taking care of myself. That's the thing, right? Because when you're taking care of yourself, you are vibing high. You are just like, you don't give a fuck. You don't give a fuck what comes into your life, because you're just like, I don't need anything. I don't need anyone. I got myself. I'm good. I'm like high on life right now. And that's when you get the money. That's when you get the job. That's when you get the relationship. That's when you get everything. That's the fucking secret.
Yep. I can't tell you too. Okay, so I definitely have a thing with relationships. Like, I should be like a relationship coach of some kind, because that's like my fucking shit. I can't tell you how many, this is like not to toot my own horn. This is to talk about energy, right? I would literally have men that looked like they walked out of a fucking GQ magazine, where you would look at it and be like, no fucking way. Like, you're fucking kidding me right now. Like, launch themselves at me my entire life when I didn't give a flying fuck about them. Like, they could be standing next to me and I'd be like, literally, who are you? Like, what is going on? And they were just, oh my God, like, let me talk to you. And I'm like, what's happening? Like, why is this? And then I turn to my friends, like, what's going on? Like, what? Like, we'd be out, and they're like, are you stupid? Like, hello? Get with it. And I'm like, I don't want this. And it was ridiculous. It was almost comical. It got to the point where every time we'd go out, I would call it. I'm like, let's see who's going to be today. Sure enough, it would happen again. Because I didn't care. And that's how it worked. I was so contented just being by myself, as before I got with my husband, just hanging out, dancing, being alive. And I was fucking glowing. I was literally glowing. So when they would look at me, they didn't see me. They saw my energy. And they were like, whatever the fuck that girl's on, I want some of that shit, because she looks fucking glowing. That's how it works.
That is real. That is real. When you're vibing high,
real.
People come to you.
Some of these guys, I'd be like, yo, like, where does this guy come from? He legit looks like a model, like, every time. It was ridiculous. And this is when I was primarily dating women, and I was like, I drank the wrong Kool-Aid. I drank the wrong Kool-Aid. I need to switch up. Because it was just so crazy, you know? And then I'd be like, no, I'm dating women. They're like, okay, whatever. Like, I didn't even care. I'm like, yo, this is magic. Like, real, like, this energy thing is really magical. Y'all need to understand that it really works. We're not just saying it. It is legitimate. You can test it. And we dare you to. Mm-hmm. We dare you to test it. Please do. Let us know. Comment below when you do, because we want to hear about it.
And there's a difference, just so you guys know, there's a difference between because, you know, we've all done that. I don't give a fuck, but deep down you're like bitter. Mm-hmm. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, like, you genuinely don't care. You're like so in love with yourself, you genuinely don't care about anything else.
Yep.
You're just feeling yourself. You're just like, I'm so sexy.
I'm amazing.
I'm a success.
It sounds so hokey, and like, I completely was a person who was like, who actually feels that way about themselves? Like, nobody does. But in the past 5 years, that's really been a huge journey for myself personally. Even before becoming a coach, even before starting helping other people, just realizing the value of honoring myself and wanting to be with myself, wanting to spend time with myself, wanting to take care of myself, wanting to make myself important to myself. That was like a revelation, and it absolutely changed my life. And it's helped me in my marriage and with my child not be codependent. It's helped me understand how to not be, because I have worked already consistently. It's like building a muscle on taking care of myself and making myself a priority. So it's been easier. It's been easier in this relationship. It's been easier with my son. There are still moments where I catch myself being like, I don't want him to figure out how to go up those damn stairs and down the slide. I want to help him do it. And I'm like, you know what? He's got to do it. He's got to figure it out. And I'm just going to stand back and let him be an independent child that figures this out. Or with my husband, I can't tell you how many times my husband has gone out of town to a soccer match without me, with 4 of his friends, and stayed in a hotel. Yeah. What drinking? Stayed with 4 buds in a different state. Like, hey, I'll be back in 2 days. And I'm like, okay. How many wives do that? None, because they're all single besides him. Right? How many? That's the level of security that I have. That's the level of security I have. I'm okay. And that is liberating, you guys. It makes a massive difference. I can't tell you how much he appreciates that, how much he thanks me constantly for being that way, and then dotes on me as a result, right? Because he feels free. Huge.
I was just reflecting on, just the concept of spending time with yourself, right? And how we are at the point where we really enjoy spending time with ourselves. That has not always been the case, right? But we really love, for the most part, I would rather spend time with myself than anyone else, because I really enjoy being by myself. I really enjoy it. But the problem that I see is that when you start to develop that relationship with yourself, it's so abnormal that people think there's something fucking wrong with you.
Yep.
They think you're depressed. They think you're a hermit. They think they've done something wrong and you're pushing them away. Like, I dealt with this specifically with family members when I was going deep into my spiritual journey, and all I wanted to do was sit on my meditation pillow for hours and just stare out the window and burn incense. That's all I wanted to do. And I found so much joy and comfort in that. And I didn't want to travel to go see family members. I didn't want to go out with friends. And it wasn't because I was depressed. It wasn't because I didn't want to have friends anymore. It wasn't because I hated family. It was because for the first time in 35 years at that point, it was the first time in my entire life that I was like, man, I really love myself, and I really love spending time with myself, and there is no one I would rather be with than myself right now. And that, when I had that level of awareness and that level of freedom, I was like, I'm free, and I was still grieving the end of a relationship, but I no longer needed him. If he wanted to come back into my life, great, and if he didn't, great. I was so happy with myself, but it's just that's not the norm. And so I want for us to make that the norm. It's normal to want to be able to spend time with yourself and to enjoy it and not need someone else.
Yeah, and it is selfish. And guess what? That's important.
It's good. It's not selfish in the negative connotation, though.
No, it's selfish in serving yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You've got to. Osho talks about this all the time. I'm a huge Osho person. I've taught courses on his stuff. I'm all about the tantric way of life, because it's all about really experiencing life, not just talking about it, but being in it. And it is so important that you give to yourself in that really radical way of wanting to spend time with yourself and wanting to. I can't remember, the first time I ever got dressed and looked at myself and was like, you look amazing. Just for myself, not because I was going on a date, not because I just wanted to look fucking good. And I took myself out on a date to a coffee shop, and I just hung out, and it was I love spending time with me. I'm really having a great time. I'm journaling, I'm listening to stuff. it was so liberating to me. It felt like I grew like 3 sizes the first time I ever did that. And when I started to do that more consistently, everything started to really fall into place because I was bringing in experiences that matched that vibrational pattern of me being really in a space of honoring myself. So things that were going to honor me kept presenting themselves to me, right? Of course, normally, naturally, because you're putting out with your energy what you're wanting to receive, right? So if you are like in that cycle of codependency and getting stuck on needing other people to give you happiness or needing your child to feel useful, that's the big one for moms. Like, I need my kid because then I feel useful. I feel like I have a purpose. If my kid needs me, like, what is that about? Like, when you break free from that, there's so much like power in that. I can't even like put it into words. The experience for your children and for yourself, for your lover and for yourself. Like, my son is so incredibly secure and independent, and he knows that I love him, and also like he knows he's his own being. Absolutely. And he knows when I'm doing something for me, like working out, now that he's 2.5, he understands more. If he wants my attention, I'm like, babe, mom's doing something for mom. As soon as I'm done in 15, 20 minutes, I show him how much time. We're going to connect. Cool? But right now, I want you to go play and be with yourself. Mom's going to finish what he's doing. I'm like, okay. Because he's used to it now, because I've done it so many times. And that's the example I'm setting for him. And sometimes he wants to play by himself and he doesn't want me involved. And he's learning that boundary from me. And you know what I do? I let him. Go ahead. Play by yourself. Don't need me. Awesome. Doesn't mean anything about me. Right? Like, doesn't mean anything about me. And that's so liberating. It's so liberating. Like, I want everybody to feel that. I just wish I could like wave my wand and just everybody don't need other things.
Yeah, except the journey is so enjoyable. Like and Abraham talks about this, right? To really enjoy the journey, because if you got everything you wanted all the time without the journey, you would get really fucking bored. We only have a few minutes left, but I'm curious, Shakti, your take on, especially since you know so much about relationships, and what would you say to someone who is in a relationship where maybe the relationship is codependent on both sides, right? And maybe someone is watching and they're like, okay, I understand. I want to start to take some time to myself, but my partner isn't going to understand because my partner is also just as codependent. What advice would you give, or what guidance would you give?
I would do it anyway, and I would set the example with what you're. That's really what I would do. I would make it a non-negotiable. And so what I did, with my kid, for example, is I get up before my kid's even up to do the things that I need to do to take care of myself. He can't miss me. He's asleep. He's busy sleeping. So like, do it in a time when they're not around. They're not around all the time. You're not around all the time. You work different schedules, I'm sure. You've got gaps of time or you're sleeping or something. You know what I mean? Like, do it in a time, start in a time when they're not even around or they're not even involved, and then gradually talk about it. Don't tell them what they need to do. Don't change your relationship. Don't try and change that person. You need to get on board. You need to be, no. Just you figure out how to make it work for you first. Set the example with your energy. You will start to change, and because everything is mirror, everything is sourced from you, one of two things is going to happen. Your partner is either going to start mirroring your behavior and going to start having more boundaries for themselves and wanting to spend more time with themselves and wanting to do that, or they're going to want to leave. You're not going to be happy in their relationship anymore, and it's going to end, and it's a good thing that it does. It's a good thing that it does. Because once you start to connect with yourself, you're going to discover a whole new level of empowerment, and you are going to want more of that. You're not going to want less of it. You're going to want more of it. And you're going to want someone who is on par with that. So you're not really going to have to do anything. Just by you honoring yourself and doing the work, your relationship will reveal to you what it's going to do. You won't really even have to do anything at all.
So powerful. But it's true. One or two things will happen because it always happens.
Jamie started in the bedroom. Girl, that's all for advice.
All right, guys, we are done. That hour, at first we were like, 35 minutes. We always do this. We're like, we're done in 35 minutes, and then more happens, and then all of a sudden it's 10 o'clock. So, as usual, if you guys have the desire to work with us, we are on the same team. You can work with us in that capacity. If you're already a Beachbody coach or not interested in being a Beachbody coach and want to work with us, we have 2-on-1 options as well. So reach out to us, comment below, and we will chat with you guys next Monday.
Have a good week, guys.
Bye, guys.